going on, everybody? My name is Roman and I'm coming back at you. We're gonna make chocolate mousse. So this chocolate mousse is really dark, it's creamy, and it's made a little bit differently than normal chocolate mousses. It's got egg whites in it, it's got a creme anglaise, it's got heavy cream, and really good chocolate. This chocolate is about 68%, 60%. You could use a little bit sweeter, a little bit darker, depending on yourself. So right here we have all the ingredients, okay? Heavy cream, just like this, and then we're gonna come over here. These three ingredients right here, all of this, the pot, this is cream, sugar, and egg yolk. Chocolate with butter. I had already melted the butter down, so I basically just poured it back in there with the chocolate, mix it up just to get the chocolate melting a little bit, because the chocolate is gonna be with the butter. You do want the butter to be in with the chocolate, so the best way to do this is to get the chocolate already started melting by using butter. Then over here, we have the egg white and the sugar, and basically with these two, we're gonna flip them up. I'll show you later when we do it. Okay, so before we get started, I just wanna go over all the little things that you might need for this. The first thing here, I have an induction burner. You could use a stovetop, obviously. That's the first thing. The second thing is optional. You don't really need it. It's easier to have one. Otherwise, you can just mix up the chocolate in because that's what we're using it for. When we pour the Anglaise into the chocolate, this is what we'll be using this, a stick blender, a bear mixer, whatever you call it. But basically, you're gonna be using this once or twice, and it's recommended, but you don't really need it. This one I recommend, for sure. If you don't have one of these, and you wanna do baking or pastries and things like that with anything sweet, I recommend definitely having this right here. So this is like gold, seriously. The fourth thing we're gonna have is utensils. Any utensils you wanna have. We definitely need a whisk, a rubber spatula, scrape it out of the bowl. Some cups to put it in. I chose these look nice. And then the final thing is a tip and a pastry bag, because when we put the chocolate mousse inside these cups, you're gonna want it to look nice with the tip and all that. All right, so let's get started. All right, so the first step here is we're gonna whip up the heavy cream and basically just create a whipped cream. So this is gonna be easy. This is the first step, because then after this, we're gonna start making the anglaise. So the reason why we wanna have heavy cream whipped up first is mainly because everything else is really gonna go by so fast. And once the anglaise is done, it's gotta go right into the chocolate, and then the egg whites are gonna be going, and you don't wanna have to stop halfway and let everything cool down and mess up because you're waiting for this. So I recommend just getting this whipped up, setting it aside because it can sit, and then just getting everything else ready. All right, so right here we've got the whipped cream. It's whipped up. It can't be too stiff, or else when you mix all the ingredients together, if this is too stiff, really urgent, it's gonna break. The whole thing is gonna be messed up just because you whipped it too much. This right here, look at this. This right here is, I would say it's even a little too much, but it's slightly stiff peaks. This will be okay, for sure. Just be careful when mixing this whole thing together, because it's gonna be very easy to overmix, and you're gonna see little tiny grains because the fat's gonna separate from the liquid, and it's just gonna be a big mess. So when this is done, now you're gonna set it aside, hopefully in a cooler place or in the fridge, or if it's already cold, don't worry about it, but set it aside, because now you're gonna start your anglaise. Okay, so now we're gonna start making the anglaise, and this is a cream anglaise. We're gonna use the egg yolks, the sugar, and the heavy cream here. So basically everything that we do in this whole recipe, it's pretty cool, because everything we do is basically multitasking. Because now, while this heavy cream starts getting warm and you have to bring it to a boil, we're gonna take this chocolate right here, the chocolate that we had the melted butter in it. It's okay if it got a little hard, it's no problem at all. So we're gonna take this, we're gonna put it on top of your pot, basically create a little double boiler. When this cream starts coming to a boil, which is what you want, the chocolate will also hopefully start to get melted. It doesn't have to be completely melted, but it should definitely be started. So while this is working, now we're gonna come over here to the egg yolk and sugar. We are gonna take the sugar, pour it right in there, and immediately, I would say immediately, you wanna put the sugar right in and immediately start whisking. Because if you wait to whisk, then the sugar might burn the yolk, and that's another mess. So you're gonna whisk this up until it gets a little bit light and foamy. Once this is nice and light and foamy, then we're gonna go ahead and hopefully at the same time this is ready, the cream right here will be ready as well. So as you see here, the chocolate is coming a little bit warmer. It's starting to melt down just a little bit. That's really mostly the butter just melting down, but it's hitting the chocolate too. And that's because the bottom right here got really hot. It started to boil, I noticed it. So I turned it off, put the chocolate back on, and just let it sit right here because now the cream is hot and now everything's just kind of sitting until you finish up with this. All right, so here you see the egg yolk and sugar is a little bit nice and foamy a little bit. Basically the sugar is just dissolved and I whisked it up until it just kind of combined really good. So now we're gonna set this aside. We're gonna check our cream here. We're gonna see if this is coming to a boil. Yep, that's a nice boil. So we're gonna turn that off, bring it over here, just like this. Scoop this up, all right. All right, so now once you mix all that together, we're gonna take this, pour directly back into the pot, and we're gonna finish cooking it because these egg yolks are still not fully cooked and are still raw. So we make sure that finishes just like that. All right, so now we have this on about medium temperature, and I'm just gonna keep taking my whisk and whisking it up just like this. And then you're gonna notice it's gonna start getting thicker. You might even see a little bit of scrambledness on the bottom, but that's okay because you're gonna whisk it away. Just get it nice and going, just like that. All right, so now, if you notice like this, you see it's starting to coat the bottom a little bit. You could take a wooden spatula and see if it would coat that. If it sticks on the spatula, that means it's done. Like if it really sticks. So this is about done. All right, so I just turned off the gas, and now it's basically looking good because the bottom's stuck to the bottom's kind of starting to stick to the bottom of the pot. And we're just gonna keep whisking a little bit, and it's nice and incorporated, nice and creamy. This is an Anglaise. This is it right here, just like that. Okay, so once the Anglaise is done, the chocolate is right here. See, it's halfway melted. There's still chunks. You don't want it to be too hot because the Anglaise, most likely the Anglaise is still gonna be hot. So while we're waiting the Anglaise to cool down in the pot, make sure you whisk it every now and then so that way it doesn't start burning to the bottom. We're just gonna push this all aside. And now we're gonna take our egg whites and we're gonna start whipping them up because right when we're done finishing putting the Anglaise inside the chocolate and mixing it with the heavy cream, the egg whites will be ready at the perfect time. I've got the sugar here, I've got the egg whites in here. Now, I'm gonna whip this up, put this on about medium speed, just like that, because we're gonna let it take its time. So now, whenever you whip egg whites, it's important to take the sugar, pour a sprinkle in there. Look at that, I did about a handful. So now take a look. Because what that sugar is gonna do is get it started with a nice creaminess. Then we're gonna add the rest of the sugar later, right before it's done. Right about there, what is that? Right about on speed 6. All right, so as that's going, now we're gonna get to the fun part where we're gonna do the Anglaise with the chocolate. We're gonna make a nice creamy chocolate mess, basically. All right, so now I have the egg whites going in the background. Sorry if it's a little loud. So right here, I have the Anglaise, and I'm gonna go ahead and literally just pour it directly right into the chocolate. Just like this. This whole process isn't that difficult. It's just a long process. It takes a lot of thought, you know? Okay. So now we're just gonna give this a quick little mix just to get it started because we're gonna finish mixing it with the bear mixer. All right, so now we got our stick blender. We're gonna go ahead and mix this up. Like I said earlier, you don't need the stick blender. You could just keep mixing it, but this is really just to ensure that you got all the little chunks of chocolate out of it. So right away, we're gonna go ahead. Already you can see the creamy chocolate coming together. Look at that. All right, boom, just like that. Now, okay, so I just scraped the edges of this, and I'm gonna continue bear mixing it just a little bit. I just checked my egg whites, they're almost ready. But let me tell you a tip really quick. This is really important. There's a lot of, I'm gonna say it's really important on a lot of things on this whole recipe. So What's really important as well is to make sure those egg whites, when they're done, when you think they're done being fluffed, don't stop it. Do not stop it, because the second you stop it, they're gonna start separating and you're gonna have a mess. So even if they are over whipped, because you over whip them, you're better off just letting them mix on a lower speed, constantly moving, and then adding the sugar. If it's over whipped, adding the sugar will cause it to really just come together better. It'll make it look more creamy. That's why the sugar is great, to do a little bit in the beginning and then all of it at the end. That's my method. So we're gonna continue mixing this up just like this, just a little bit more. If it happens to start separating, which is common because of the heaviness in the cream, because the cream can be really thick, it's okay if you add just a splash of milk in there. The milk will give it a whole different color, but it'll look cool. It'll still be great. The milk will lower the fat content and make it come right back together. All right, so the Anglaise is now mixed with the chocolate. Good job. If you got this far, then, oh my God, you can become a pastry chef. So, this is it right here. It's nice and creamy. It's a little buttery, it's eggy, it's chocolatey mostly. Now we're gonna take the heavy cream. Take a little bit of the heavy cream. Be a little bit gentle with it, because if you're too rough, it's gonna end up over whipping and then you're gonna break it. So take a little bit of that, fold it in here. Now you can pour this into here. All right, so once you have that all in here, we're gonna continue mixing this up. I did lower my egg whites a minute ago because they were starting to get there. They're not over whipped yet, but they would have been pretty soon. All right, so just like that, don't worry about the swirls, because we're gonna continue mixing it with the other things, but so far that's looking pretty good. There's no over whipped signals or anything like that. So now, put this aside, we are gonna go ahead now and add the rest of the sugar to the egg whites. Okay, so as you see here, the egg whites, they're not over whipped, but I put them slow, so they're looking like that. A little bit nasty, you got the side coming together. So what we're gonna do to fix that is turn the speed up, get it moving again, get it whipped again, slowly start adding the sugar. Now watch this, it's all gonna come together. Let it whip. All right, so just like that, that looks pretty good. Now, we're gonna take this, we're gonna go right away into this bowl. The quicker the better, really, because the liquid from the egg whites will start to come out of the whole mixture right there. So now gentle is the word here. We're gonna gently fold it in. All right, done, boom. Once you think it's done, it's done. Because if you mix it a little bit too much, like I said, it'll overmix for sure. So as you see right now, it's very liquidy. You're probably wondering why too. Here's the thing. You gotta keep this in the fridge for about 2 hours, because if you were to go to pipe it now, there's no point of using, you know, the tip like we had. There's no point, because it's just gonna come out and not hold its form, its shape that you want it to have. So put it in the fridge for 2 hours, get a pastry bag, use a tip, scoop it into your cups or whatever you wanna do, but you know, that's basically it right here. So boom, we got chocolate mousse. This right here will fill up about 8 of these little glasses. You know, I would say that's what, like 100 grams or something like that. So you get a pretty decent amount out of this little batch right here I'm showing you guys. So, okay. So now we have the finished product. This is the chocolate mousse. Like I said, you're gonna put it in the fridge for a little bit. Then you can pipe it, scoop it, eat it out of the bowl. I don't care what you're gonna do, but you gotta do something with it. So that's it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed. Stay around every single week. I'm gonna have a new video. Share with your friends. You know, like, subscribe. Do whatever you want to do. Just keep watching it if you want. You're gonna see a lot of good different content like this. I work with a really good pastry chef, and I'm planning on having a pretty good future in pastry. So doing these videos are helping me and informing you on the different desserts. Most of the desserts that I will be making on this channel are gonna be made out here in the restaurant. If you take a look, you wanna take a look out here real quick? So yeah, all these are gonna be making, most of these are gonna be out here at the restaurant. But besides that, hope everyone has a good week, and I will see you next week.